everybody, good morning and welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and disembodied hands, and somewhat brain, Justin. Justin is busy today, so we got a slight delay. Good morning, everyone. Morning. Question mark. Pendrake, question mark. What, do we go live and not have any sign that people were actually here? Mrs. Trashorama, wow. Hi. Morning, Reaper Peepers. Yes, good morning, Gotham City. Good morning. And we'll sing a happy good morning. I'm a little bit still waking up, need toothpicks, like in cartoons where you need toothpicks to prop open your eyeballs. I feel like I need that. Didn't fall asleep till a little late. You always feel a little laggy. But that's all right. We're here. I'm probably also still recovering from con. Oh, 25 months. Yeah, still coming down off the Reaper Con. Yes. And I'm remodeling my shelf a little bit here. Actually got shelves up in the new hobby room, the combined hobby room, not this. This is the streaming room. Ooh, this is Anne's workroom, Anne's office. But we've got shelves up now in the other room, and my new computer and painting desk combo should arrive today. So I'll have an L-shaped desk with my computer on one side and painting room on the other, which is what David does to save space. He does both his painting and his computering at the same desk. Still barely morning in Texas. Yes. Hello. Yes, from the side of the pond. One of the sides. I did actually find my other paint palette, which is always a good thing, right? When you've got two, you finding the other one after you moved is good. And I found an extra bottle of walnut brown to replace the one that David had stolen from me, or somebody had stolen from me. It may have been Pearsall. I don't know. People were just grabbing each other's paints willy-nilly at the convention, which means I am lacking in some colors. I don't know. I think ping is a pretty good is anybody out there question. All right, today let's do our magical circle up and finish some of this earthwork. I am actually thinking about getting out the fake leaves. Hold on, let me get this out of the way. There we go. Nice and in focus for Vonsoleil there. Hello. And now everybody is pouring in. But yeah, I thought I might try some of these fake vegetation leaf things. But we're probably going to do those a little later. There's some cool ferns that I kind of want to try. But the thing about these is you really want to paint them to use them. So, and then I've got actually some cool stuff from Greg Zuniga, Wicked Elf. There's just a bunch of stuff that I've been meaning to try and haven't tried. And so we probably will get there. I want to kind of experiment, and experimenting on this sort of model is fun because there's not a lot at stake, right? It's just a Reaper model, so if it doesn't turn out amazingly, it's still going to be good. It's still going to be cool. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll wait and figure out what we want to do later with those. Greg, if you're out there, I need smaller ferns. Yeah, the vellum ones, and I've also got some paper ones from a couple of different laser cut paper places. And those are actually a little bit smaller, so I may end up using some of that. Otherwise, with the ferns from the vellum ferns, I'd have to cut them down a little bit, which is totally doable. But I just want a little bit of vegetation down here. And that would be cool if I could add some little micro ferns down here. That would be interesting and would give you an idea of the type of environment she's in, which is what basing should do. Yeah, if we had a ballistic missile sub, targeting outside, I would be slightly concerned. It might stretch the bounds of my credibility, but, my credibility is pretty credulous, so maybe not. Alrighty. So yeah, we're going to do our magical circle today, which means we need pure white. And we also, since I decided we were going to use the fiery colors we did back here, we also need fire red and sunrise orange, and maybe even a little bit lantern yellow. But first we want to really get this stuff etched in white, just like you see the circle is. We did a pretty good job of drawing our circle. We're maybe a little wobbly on one side, but when you're a mage under attack in the wilderness, because you've been like skulking around in some ancient ruins looking for stuff, you know, maybe your circle's a little wobbly. You hope it doesn't make a big, impact on the strength of it. I'm sure there are mages out there that can like draw a non-wobbly circle, but I think when under duress, it is understandable if your magic circle is wobbly. And that's my official say. Let's see here. I need reds and oranges. And luckily, I still have them from ReaperCon, because lately I'm really on a fire red kick. It's my new, like, for a while I was on a heraldic kick, but every once in a while I go back and forth. For a very long time, it was 9003 I always reached for, but lately I like fire red. It's kind of a carmine, so it's just a little bit lighter and a little bit pinker. But the nice thing about fire is that you can really take it colder with clear magenta very easily. Clear magenta and clear blue. But you still can highlight it with orange, and it still looks okay. It's so close enough. Even though it has a little bit of a cool hue, it's versatile that way. Oh, and I should get lantern out just in case. Yep. Yeah, I think it's a very versatile color, and not a lot of people like really use it. A lot of people will reach for blood red instead. 9003 for a long time. I don't know what the stats are now, but for a long time, 9003 blood red was our third best-selling color after white and black. I haven't seen current sales numbers, so. Oh, of course not. Yeah, of course it doesn't sound like the actual ping. Like Hollywood has to make it like sound right for the layman. It doesn't actually make it sound right for the expert. That's the thing about Hollywood. That's why experts always like froth at the mouth at Hollywood movies and say it's so unrealistic. But that's the point. You're not the audience. You're not the target audience. The target audience is everybody else who doesn't have your specialized knowledge. Yeah, I mean the blood red is a basic red, and it's not as cool as fire. But fire is a little closer to a pure red pigment, so fire is a little bit more useful. On the other hand, blood red can be highlighted with clear red, whereas fire red really is its own highlight. From here you got to go up pink. Pink or magenta pink. So that's something to keep in mind, because this is very close to clear red, so clear red is not going to make a great highlight for it. But clear red makes a great highlight for blood red, 9003. So it's just a little bit of a different thing. Going to give it 4 drops of everything. We're going to start out mixing everything 2-to-1 with water, like we are wont to do. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm sure like all the whites and all the blacks are above it. I think that only takes online sales into account, though, if you're looking on, like, the store. The top sellers on the store does not actually take into account distribution. Yeah, so. Yeah, exactly. So all the game stores ordering our paint are probably running out of a lot of white and black, too. But if blood red is the first non-white, black, or utility brown, like walnut color, then that does say that it's still extremely popular. Because if you're number 10, but you're number 10 out of over 500 colors, you're doing pretty good. Ah, oh no, I need Pokey Tool. Also, I might need a new lantern yellow. It's getting low. Yeah, fast palettes should come back in. I mean, I was looking, they were out of High Seas Horror when I was there. I had to go scrounging and get some help to find where they were hiding the Kraken ink. But I did get Kraken ink, guys. I think I grabbed like 3 bottles. So I'm going to have Kraken ink for eternity. That's the nice thing about going to the factory for me as an employee, is that I can do that. So, you know, if you want to be able to buy single paints that you can't otherwise buy, become a Reaper employee. It's easy. Just show up and work. They'll be forced to hire you eventually. This was always the hiring strategy we shared with other people who were not Reaper employees. Sometimes it even worked. Don't tell that I told you. All right, 4 drops of paint for each of these, 2 drops of water. And I think I do want to do a glowing effect on this. So once we etch in our lines, then we're going to do a little bit of glow, I think. You got to see that, yes, the paint department office, yep. It used to be the Ann office. I didn't actually look in there when I was in the department. Probably because it's like, I lived in there for like, 10 years or more. I don't think I need to. Yeah, some of those fast palette paints may not be like put out into singles, guys. Especially if the fast palette's a good seller. But I don't know. I mean, that's the thing to like lobby Ed for. Like, he makes that decision. Ron is hugely unreliable, Penderic, and I would never rely on Ron to send me a care package. Throwing Ron under the bus in the best tradition of Reaper. Ron was the original person to throw under the bus, so I feel like I'm going old El Classic, for throwing Ron under the bus. Like, I believe that's actually in Ron's job description at this point. Uh-oh. I took my glasses out to, like, read small things in the other room. Luckily, I have a backup pair. I am that organized. See? Everything really is coming together. But instead of the dark glasses today, we get the silver glasses. Which I think were the ReaperCon glasses anyway, so. Oh, need to polish. Need our eyes today. Ron just has a crap ton, just like all of the Reaper peeps. Ron has a crap ton on his plate, so. Aw, bummer, Dogfather. Well, Reaper will still be there, and it will be even more awesome the next time you come. There we go. Now we have the shiny silver glasses of doom. Sweet. Oh, dear. Okay, so yesterday I spent all day looking for something. I just realized the something is right here, and I already ordered a replacement something. When you're moving... When you're moving and you don't have a place for everything yet. Oh my God, the strife, it's real. I spent all afternoon looking for 2 things yesterday and unpacked like 4 boxes looking for 2 things. Only one of which I found until now after ordering a replacement thing. Yeah, so the moving angst, it is real. I cannot wait. Like David's like, you're working so hard. Because I'm doing my regular workload now, trying to catch up with Patreon. And then I'm also unpacking like a fiend, trying to get everything put out. And it's like, it's because I want to prevent things like yesterday, where I'm like, I need these things to edit this video, and I cannot find them, right? It's that kind of thing. And the sooner I get everything unpacked nicely and put away nicely in places that are intuitive for me to look, the sooner I can like prevent the angst. And so, yeah. Bummed out with the MSP this year? Oh, I wanted to talk about something else yesterday, and I didn't. I wanted to talk about open, to make sure you guys understand what the open category is. Because a lot of times you get people who are just entering big bases, scenic bases in open. And in the beginning of MSP, like, we did that. That was a thing. But it's a more classic. I think when Michael took over and when they redid the rules, if you read the MSP rules now, it is definitely open is supposed to be for conversion and sculpting. And you will be graded on it. So if you just do a weapon swap, you're actually going to get a bad grade because you didn't do very much conversion to do that. So, Yeah, but I'm sorry you got bummed out on the MSP. Oh, I assume you mean the MSP Open? Oh, yeah. Daffodil Weir, when that happens, man, I've moved so many times in the last 3 years that, and even before that, there was a period where I, like, moved 5 times in 6 years or something after college, right? When you're moving all over the place. I just came to the conclusion that if I have not looked in this box for 5 years, I will give it a quick through, but then it's trash. Like, if there's something in there that I really think I need for posterity, I'll keep it. But I can't. I can't. I have too many hoarders in my family, and it hits me hard. So I'm just like, no, let's not go there. I used to be a pack rat. I used to hold on to everything. Oh, worst results you've gotten in 3 years. Interesting, Dogfather. Did the judges give you good constructive feedback? Maybe it was the models. Blame the models. Bobby Jackson, you should have sculpted this better. Oh, yeah, you should totally whip that out and see if you actually need anything from it, Crows. Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Dogfather. Like, it happens, though. It happens because you get a different judging team one year, or you get, like, just the whole show is a little bit different. Honestly, you'd have to check the rules, Duke. But if it's going to take up a crap ton of space, like more than 18 by 12, I would say, then you should always contact the convention, like talk to the convention staff about it so that we make sure we have room. Because some years... Oh, that's a bummer. That's a bummer, Dogfather. Well, if you're on my Patreon, you can put it up on the Discord. And I've actually got it on my list to do Patreon Discord. Put it up for feedback, and I'll try to get to it. I don't know if I was one of your judges, but... we gotta watch that, though, Pendrake, because with the years where we have a really high attendance, it gets really crammed. And so, I think what the rule used to be, but again, read the rules, which should be on the ReaperCon site somewhere. But what it used to be is that we would accept any size, quote unquote, any size. But if it didn't fit, you were going to be turned away. Yeah, Rhonda totally has great feedback. Like, yes, complete rules details online. Hyper Bunny's got it. So, yeah, I'm not sure if we judged your entry, but if we did, I can give you a direct idea, Dogfather, of what we were thinking. All right, let's sketch this out. And so we've got... I kind of want to do a swoopy line kind of through here. And then I want to do a curl. And I'm just random magical circle lines of doom here. Just kind of a wavy, interesting line. Oh! Actually, okay, so Pirate King diorama. I did judge that one, Duke. So, okay, one thing I want you to think about is size is not everything. Your diorama had some really good details, but you could have told the story in 2/3 of that space. Also, if you're going to do a lighting effect, kind of cut a piece out of your foam to bury your controller. Bury your battery. Thanks, Tia. Yeah, it's less the shading and it's more the highlighting. The shading is just the base color that I put down, and then everything else, the highlights are what define the shading, to put it that way. So we're going to sketch in this magical circle. But yeah, the one advice I give to everybody in diorama is to build up more and shrink, make your diorama take as little room as you possibly can. Ask yourself, how much room do I really need to tell this story? What's the minimum? And then do that, because when you've got a big flat, yeah, no problem. I got your meaning. When you've got a big flat surface in a diorama, you are running into lots of dead space, which is little areas of the diorama where nothing is happening. And so you have to question, do I really need this space? And it's actually the single biggest mistake, most consistent mistake that I see with dioramas. Because when you shrink the diorama, it suddenly looks a lot more exciting. Because you've got, especially if you're building a little bit up, which you already did in the Pirate King diorama, that's one of the things we liked. We also liked the interesting rock shapes and all that. And the glowing pool was really cool. And our judging team was able to decipher the story without help. And that's another thing with dioramas. Make sure you have a story. If you don't have a story, you lose big time scores. So we were able to kind of figure out what was happening with the Pirate Lich King. Whether we were right or not is a question, but you do your best. But yeah, some people would put up, and I saw some this year, they just put two models together on a base. But we can't tell a story there. That's not necessarily a story. Two models standing is not necessarily a story. Even with this model is an excellent example. I'm going to do a scenic base. It's kind of implied that she's raising, her arm to throw something at somebody. But until I show some sign of intruders on the base, I'm not telling a story. Yeah, I think I did judge. I judged some. The thing is, we have a judging team kind of do a first pass on Friday night or on Thursday night. And then we had our regular teams on Friday night. We were trying to cut down on the amount of work that we were doing on Friday night because it always goes late. So I'm kind of swooping around with these lines, guys. I want to interrupt my circle and create an interesting effect. And I didn't want to do with traditional pentagram. So instead I want to do some swoopy things, and then I want to, see if there's whatever room is left for runes, I will do. Hey, Dragon Eye. Oh, cool. Ordnance was fairly competitive this year, I'll tell you that. Don't be sad for placing lower in Ordnance. Ordnance is usually a pretty weak category. We don't get a lot of it. But this year we got some super high level work entered. So the way the open works is that you kind of, as a judge, you have to look at what's there, right? Each year we set up our shelves in our heads. All of us come into the competition with an idea, what is bronze, what is certificate, what is silver, and what is gold. But every year you get models that are on the cusp. And what you do is once you make a judgment call, okay, this is a silver, but it just barely squeaked by into silver. Then when there's a question on another entry that is also on the cusp, we go get that model and compare and say, okay, is this model, this new model, is it better or worse than this model that snuck barely into silver? If it's worse, then it's a high bronze. And if it's equivalent or better, it's a silver. So we kind of do that. But that changes every year, right? Because we're not thinking about past entries. We're not taking into account the years where Jessica Rich did freaking tapestries on her horses, right? If we did, everyone would be doomed. So you can only judge what you see in the competition. But what that means is that if a category has been historically kind of a little weak, but then one year a few painters bring A-game work, is your work, if you haven't also gotten better over the years, your work will kind of go maybe down a bit because there's suddenly gold is way up here where it used to maybe be more on the silver gold line, right? Everything else kind of slides. So it depends on what you have. So no matter what, the moral of the story is always strive to improve over your previous work. Keep your previous entry around and really kind of work on it and look at it a lot and ask yourself if your current entry for the coming year is as good. I'm going to do a big curvy line here since it's starting to collapse on itself. And then I'm going to go back. And I kind of also want these swoopy shapes because it kind of reminds me of flames. Sure, Tia. Yeah, we're talking about the ReaperCon painting competition in case you wondered. ReaperCon was this past weekend. And I'm a judge. I created the competition a long time ago, but now I don't run it anymore. I'm just on the judging team. And I can only speak for how I judge. Like, my team always does that thing where we grab, like, the bronze silver, the on the cusp model and directly compare if there's a question with another model. So we try to make sure that's me and David and Brian Pearsall and sometimes Greg Zuniga, depending on our team. But we always try to compare to make sure that we are being consistent. Because we don't want to, if you go from your memory, that's when you get inconsistencies. Okay, judging is a really difficult task. It's not only are you putting a score on somebody's pride and joy, something that they worked for hours and hours to do in some cases, but you want to do it consistently and fairly. You want to feel good about the score you gave the model. You as a judge need to be ready to tell the painter exactly why they got that score. So often my team will stop and go, okay, so this is between a bronze and a silver. If this person comes up to us for feedback, we need to be able to delineate why. So why, guys? Why is it a bronze or why is it a silver? What elevated it or what kept it from elevating? Yeah, we're able to do things like high bronze, low silver, high silver, low gold. We're able to do that because it's a 3-person judging team and everybody scores to you. So if you got a low gold, that means you were scored 4, 4, and 3 from each judge gave you that. So whereas a 4, 4, 4 is a solid gold. So you do get a little bit of that, and all that. I don't know. It worked. It did work a bit, actually. It was a pain at first, but because of the system, Michael really kind of thought about it, and it was good, I think. Yeah, exactly. We could have gotten even more done if more people entered early, but you know what? I am one of those people who is usually working on a last-minute entry. Just going to put a little bit of white here to suggest that the circle is continuing. Since I'm just cutting off the base back here, not because it's necessarily ruined, but because I don't have a lot of room here. Swoop. Swoop, swoop, swoop. That's kind of cool. But yeah, it's always a little bit different. Don't be discouraged though, Dogfather. But what I would do then is, what would be helpful is to maybe post up like your entries, like your painter's entry that was judged for like 3 years, and maybe post it up on like the Reaper, either the Reaper Discord or if you're on mine. I think mine, I could directly jump in if it's on my Discord for the Patreon, but I don't remember if you're a patron. I think you are, but I don't remember. But then I can like look at it, and if it looks like you are improving, I can tell you that. And if it looks like you've plateaued, then I can maybe give you this is where you need improvement to get to the next level. And of course, that's always, again, general. Like, if the caliber of competition is very high. We had some very, very good painters enter Ordnance this year for sure. Good. Yeah, you're a patron. Okay. Yeah, so post, if you have pictures, if you can give us decent pictures, post your like last year's painter's entry that was judged, and then this year's if you felt like if you went down, whatever you want to, and I can give you feedback. Because a lot of times what we don't realize is that we've plateaued, right? And then if you've plateaued, it can be difficult to like figure out, like you're at the mercy of the competition then. If a lot of good people show up, your stuff's probably going to drop without you even doing anything. It shouldn't be a decisive drop though, so, but sometimes it just works that way. Let's see. I think I want a little swoop. I think I want, this will be wider swoop. There. Just a little pinpoint thing. Yeah, but I'll gladly, if I didn't give you feedback, I will gladly give you feedback. If nothing else, just post up. I mean, it's always good to see more than 1 year for perspective, but if you only have this year's, that's fine too. Or, you know, sometimes, like with the Lich King diorama, like if you mention what it was, I can sometimes remember. And sometimes I'll even remember what we said about it. So, good, yes. Yeah, we love to see those youth entries. Like, everybody encourages the kids. The kids are the future of the hobby. Like, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Like, don't be surprised if you speed painted and you didn't score as high as you could. Fight that tendency next year is my advice to you. If you really want to progress, it's very tempting sometimes, especially if there's some fear attached to competing, some kind of subliminal fear in your head. People often won't do their best work because they're afraid that maybe their best work won't be very good. And they're afraid to put a score on that best work, you know? But do it anyway. Like, don't give yourself the out, because it's an easy out, right? Oh, well, you know, I rushed it. So, you know, I don't mind that I got a bronze. In fact, I'm thrilled, you know, that kind of thing, or even a silver. But think about what you could have done if you really took time and care. So, but yeah, David wanted me to talk about open for sure, because so many people enter open with a big base. And it's weird because if you do just a big base on a model, even if you sculpted it, like we're looking for the models themselves. Like, people enter big bases in diorama and it doesn't have a story. People enter big bases in open, but it doesn't have enough sculpting or conversion on the figure. And then both of those entries can get reclassed into painters if we feel that they're stronger than your other painters' entries. I challenge you, Duke. I challenge you to think about the story you're telling and how much space you actually need to tell it. You can still go massive, but try going, like, for one thing, try dropping the high walls. Unless the story is that you're in a canyon, right? High walls can be really good if they're dynamic. But, and in this case, it worked with your pirate because it showed that they were kind of trapped in a cave where they probably had all died, right? But stuff like that. Diorama was pirate versus sea monster. Oh yeah, okay. I remember it, but I don't remember it super well. I assume it was judged. I remember the paintwork. I don't know if we actually judged that one or if Michael did. When did you enter it? Did you enter it earlier, Dogfather? Oh, okay. Can you tell me what your painter's entry was? Maybe I'll remember that one a little better. Friday afternoon? Okay, yeah. I know I remember it, but I don't remember it. Like, some things, It's the amount of time that we spend discussing it that leads, that usually makes me remember or not remember. Which means that we were probably in accord. Yeah, everybody's got room for improvement, though. Like, that's part of we talked a little bit about this yesterday, is that the best thing is to always be an eternal learner, right? Like, never give up learning new tricks or new ways to think about things or new ways to execute. And don't, like, put a ton of pressure on yourself, but concentrate when you paint. Like, if you're trying to get better, set a clear goal for yourself at each step of, like today this week I'm going to work on blending this cape, better than I've ever done it before. That kind of thing. Today I'm going to work on faces. Let me get my dark gray out, guys. I think I need to touch up my magic circle. My magic circle's kind of wobbly. She would get a bronze. She would get a bronze for her magic circle. A moment of serenity. The old barbarian sculpt. And did you hit, were these bronzes, Dogfather? I think I remember that one. Usually the difference between bronze and silvers is paintwork. Oh yeah. Yeah, but that's the most exciting time to be working, right, Tia? Because you're improving, right? You have so much to learn, and that's really super exciting because you're discovering new things, and I think that's the most fun time of the hobby. Well, yeah, go for it, and then see which one is judged, right? Remember though, Thoramel, that and also Dogfather, did you get your scores? And were you a high bronze? High silvers. Yeah, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I'd want to see those models. But again, judging teams vary. Some judging teams are a little harder than others. So I may not have an answer for you, but I can at least assess it and tell you why I would have graded it a particular way. Let me grab my gray. Where is my gray? Gray, carbon. Where's carbon? Yeah, here's carbon. Right, Tia, right. Well, the best thing you can do there is just keep notes. Keep a little painting journal. Make a note on what you worked on, how you felt about it, something you might have discovered, and go on. Like, you don't even need much of a painting journal. You don't need to write pages. Just like keep a little, one page at a time on a little book, like my little book here. I will say that sometimes your model will work against you as well. So like if you chose a very old model that had flaws, it's hard to do a really awesome paint job on a really old model that has flaws. We try to look beyond that, but if the model itself is kind of setting you up to downgrade your paintwork, then it's difficult. Like, I can do a good job on some of the old crap that I paint for George R.R. Martin, and that's why I keep getting commissions. But even if I paint one of those to the absolute top of my ability, it's still a crappy model from the 80s with tons of flaws and bad sculpting bits, and I cannot make that a gold. Like, I'll make it a silver, but I don't think I can make it a gold. Right, but if you look back at it, Tia, can you remember? Like, even your thoughts at the end of the model when you have a second. I'm just giving you strategies. You can ignore me. Hi, Gotham. Yeah, I'm trying to get this magic circle tamed, but we got really mucky on this side. Really unneat. I make a note on a little card when I start. Well, you guys have seen my little cards, right? Like, oh no. I need to not knock the model off of this shelf. But just taking time at the start of a model. And these are little watercolor. They're artist trading cards. And I like the watercolor ones. I've used the Bristol board ones too. Yeah, that's a bummer. Do what you can then, Tia. Maybe set out to do a test model and make notes. Like if you find that like you want to mess around with glazes. The other thing my like very distracted friends do is just take a quick photo with their phone of the paint color, like paint color order progression with the model. Put it in a folder called glazes, you know. But, I mean, if you just are going to do it through osmosis, like if you just can't do it, it will take you longer, but you will get there. It just takes you longer if you're not like if you're just painting for love and you just are trying new things, you'll still internalize the techniques. Although you may forget a particular progression that you used that gave you a really good result. But as time goes on, you will start to just internalize it. You'll be able to look at a mix and go, oh yeah, okay, I probably used this. So I'm going to tighten up the edges of Magic Circle here. Magic Circle's getting a little bit fudgy. The field only matters in establishing our shelves. But no, you're not being directly compared to another model. And because there is a range of models in silver and bronze and gold, as far as, you know, like there's a low gold and a high silver and a low silver and a mid silver, you know, there's quite a wide range. Bronze and silver are very broad categories, very broad. So that means that roughly it's going to be the same. But if you were on the cusp, then you might find that your score changed. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to see the models. Judging is imperfect, and judges are imperfect. And the best I can say is we work our butts off for you guys. We try so hard to give a fair score that we can explain, right? And we tried hard to be consistent so that if you and your friend come up and you were judged in the same category and your friend got a high silver and you got a low gold, that we can actually explain to you the difference between those models, right? And why we awarded it. In the end, we are fallible and mortal, but we do our best for you because we want to give you the score that gives you the best feedback. If it was a high silver one year and then the level of competition drops the following year, it may get a low gold, but we try it like it should be marginal. Like the shifts from year to year should be marginal. And it might not, right? Again, remember, judging teams are different. We try hard to all be on the same page, but we're all judging different sections. And though we walk through the competition to get an idea of the level of competition every year, it's still going to be, you know, you're looking at the models you're looking at. And so you've got these ideas. It should be. I mean, because it should be consistent, right, Duke? We do like all, you know, work to have the same kind of ethic and idea around. Like, I'm pretty sure that if you ask any of the judges, they're going to tell you the difference between certificate and bronze is that you are trying shading and highlighting, like that you've got some shading and highlighting in there, that you're obviously not just block painting a figure. And that the difference between bronze and silver is neatness and evolution of technique, like attention to detail and how good your highlights and shading is, how consistent things are, how much stuff if you tried, like if you're, you know, and how well did you execute on the stuff that you tried. And then gold is almost always like maybe you have one thing that's maybe a little bit of a mistake, but overall the model is really well executed and we cannot really find fault with it. And if we do find faults, they are tiny faults. So to hit gold, you need to evolve. Like, it needs to be a very, very good execution. Oh no. Okay, Dogfather, that's too bad. I'm sorry you had a bad experience. Like, they couldn't explain why they graded you a bronze. We do our best. That's the best I can say, is at the end of the day. But we're also, like, up there looking at hundreds of models. And sometimes there is a blurf. Yeah, I would say that for bronze, like, if you just, like, try highlighting and shading, it's there, right? You don't have to be perfect with it, but you're attempting it. It's a good attempt. And then in silver, often we're looking for, like, oh, this person attempted some OSL and it's not bad, right? So, or they did the NMM and it needs improvement, but it's not bad, right? Stuff like that. So getting to bronze and high bronze is showing that you can do solid technique, like, just like, that you've mastered your fundamentals. You've got your fundamentals. And then progressing through silver is becoming better at, like, the range of, like, spreading out and all the different techniques. And then gold is perfecting everything. And that's a very general way to put it. And like I said, a gold model can still have mistakes, but there has to be, if there's a big one, it has to be like one, and it can't be too big. Yeah, we try. I mean, like I said, sometimes it fails for people, and I'm really sorry that it failed for you this year, Dogfather. Like, it makes my heart cry a little bit because I really want our competition to be the best one on the planet. Like, I really, really do. But I cannot personally be there overseeing every model and every judging team. But yeah, if you put your entry up, I'll try to critique it, Dogfather. I will promise you that. I can at least give you my feedback and say, not even focusing on, like, the score I would have given it, but just say how I would improve it or what I might work on. I love coaching people who want to get better, especially people who want to, like, get better at the competition, like, because I really enjoy competition painting. And I think that doing competitions, especially friendly competitions like ReaperCon, where all your friends are cheering you on and your family, like, those are the best way to inspire you to try your best and to try things that you might not otherwise have tried, I think. Yeah, I mean, it's fine, Dogfather. Just, like, put your model up on, if you want to put your model up on my Discord in like feedback wanted in that channel, and mention these were my ReaperCon entries. Yeah, I mean, we do our best, just like everybody. And sometimes we make a judgment call and then later we're like, oh, All right, so now I've made the line nice and thin. I've got it, like, swooping around and stuff. And I've taken my gray, and this is the way, like, if you've got a blorfy line that's not very good, like you feel it's like not crisp, the easiest way to do it is to take your dark around it, or your light if you're doing dark, and go over the edge, kind of like trim the edge down. That's how you get a really fine line. It's very hard to paint a super fine line. But if you take your dark gray in this case, and you kind of trim down the edge, you can make that line thinner. And it's actually much easier to make it thinner doing it this way than it is to try to paint a thin line. As far as what model they chose, like you weren't sure why they chose that model. I mean, we choose it if the model we choose is the one we think we can give you the highest score in. So AKT. Angel Bane. So whatever we choose, we look at it and we're like, this model, in some cases, it might be this model has the fewest flaws, right? Or it could be, hey, this model, they actually tried lighting, you know? Like, we're essentially going to pick the thing that we think we can score you a little higher. And it is always a little bit subjective, so do remember that. We try to be as objective as possible. There. Actually, I think I need to continue that line. I'm going to, like, really give the idea that this goes off. Yeah, essentially, like, the selected one had a pink highlighter. Everything, we had a yellow highlighter line to show that we looked at the model and considered it, just so we make sure we didn't miss any models. And then the pink one is the one the judges selected to judge. I'm going to continue the circle here. There. Okay. But yeah, we hear that a lot. In fact, I know people who, like, only enter, like they're like, if I enter this model, then they're going to judge it. And I don't want them to judge it. I want them to judge my other one. You know, we've also had people enter gaming models and then a model they worked really hard on and have the judges choose the gaming model to judge, which is like essentially a sign that you may have overworked it, or that you just were a little bit better because you were relaxed working on the gaming model. Like, it could be a sign of many things. Or just that the gaming model had more going on and we felt that there was more to judge, right? There's all that sort of things. But in the end, it's 1 year and 1 mini. And there is always next year. Like, the only, like, feedback, there is feedback that I got at one painting competition that made me never go to that painting competition again. And essentially that's when you get, like, the button counter syndrome. I had painted Wolfie, my werewolf. Some of you might know him. Wolfie is grayish blue. Because one, that's actually a color they used in Confrontation Wolfen, and two, I actually kind of like a bluish gray for a magical wolf creature, right? Makes it a little different. So they graded the wolf. They would have given it a gold, but they gave it a silver because it was blue. They couldn't understand bluish fur on a werewolf. And so they graded it down in entire metal. I never went back to that competition. I told them why. And I got told, oh, well, the judges on Saturday just weren't of the caliber. And I'm like, well, then why were they judging? It can be hard to get feedback that is not, like, at the level you wanted. But again, it is 1 year. It is one model. If you got close to gold in your previous entries, that's an excellent reason to keep going. It's also just been a stressful year, right? And sometimes it's hard to make art when it's stressful. But take a deep breath, Dogfather, and soldier on. Don't let it beat you. What it comes down to is, do you enjoy those models? Are you proud of the job you did? Then you're good. Yeah, right. Yeah, sometimes we feel that the blending and execution on a smaller model is better. In a big model, you've got more room to do stuff, but you also have more room to screw up. So sometimes that's the thing with going up in scale. I think they're actually I think I remember which model that was. Was your little model the Fenari Hyper? It does take long. Yeah, it does, friendly neutral. You haven't done a Kickstarter yet. You're scared for your marriage. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's always kind of like how we're feeling. Like we're following, when we're choosing a model, we're following our gut often. Like we're following our gut and asking, is this, between these models, if I was judging these models and they were by two different people, which one would get the higher score and why? It's like really an art. You have to work on it year after year to get to be a really good judge, I think. All right, we've got swirly lines. I'm happy with them. I've thinned them down. I've neatened them up. I think I'm going to actually show you guys. I think we'll do a glow real quick. I've got to thin down my white a lot more to do it. My water is still keeping my paint nice and wet, so I don't have to worry about that. But I am going to thin my paint to a 1:1. Hello, Mike Disney. How's it going? We're doing the magical circle today. I'm doing swirlies. Now I'm going to try to make it a little bit glowy and see what I can do. Yeah, yours was the Fenari Dragonite. Yeah, you were another one though that had a big model and a little model, right? Yeah. The big model is like the opportunity is there to do a lot more on a big model. And so if you don't take that opportunity, it can lower the grade. So in some ways, painting 28 millimeter to a super high standard is easier than painting a bust to a super high standard. Yeah, I just use water, Tia. Reaper Master Series, I made this paint line. Like, I created it for Reaper. And also hand mixed it for like 15 years until I moved out here to be with my guy out to the West Coast. But Reaper already has Flow Improver actually formulated into it. And what that generally means is that you don't need to add additives yourself. I mean, obviously, if you're in a really arid climate and you're like, maybe you want to add a little drying retarder or something, but you don't have to add like flow improvers or any conditioners or anything like that. Reaper Master Series thins best with just water. Many people just use water for even airbrushing. Some will add just a little bit of isopropyl alcohol mixed into that water, but Reaper works best with water. If I'm doing like really fine textures, like super fine stuff, I sometimes will add extra flow improver. But beyond that, hey Alba. But beyond that, I won't. So, all right, so we've got our white. We got to see if it's thin enough. White, when you're trying to do a glow, your white needs to be super thin. And 1:1 is probably still a little bit too thick, but I'm going to test it. Yes, I used to, when I worked for Games Workshop, which was before my tenure at Reaper, I would doctor our store paints by adding Flow Improver, and it made them much better. And then when I left, the employees complained because there wasn't anybody left to doctor their paint. It was pretty funny. Black Indigo is awesome. But yeah, so if you add a little bit of Flow Improver, I find Flow Improver improves most hobby paints. Makes it come off the brush easier, makes it easier to do fine detail. When you're miniature painting, that's a no-brainer. All right, I'm going to see. Yeah, I think this is going to be too thick. So if you're trying to do a glow effect, you want it to kind of blend. So Oh yeah, I mean, I don't actually use flow improver. I don't think there's a reason to use a flow improver with airbrush unless you're using, okay, wait a minute. Paint Science coming online. Hold on. All right. So Tia, flow improver does two things. And each flow improver usually is a little better at one or a little better at the other. Reaper uses a combo. But flow improvers are great for keeping paint in suspension and helping it self-level. And flow improvers are good for breaking surface tension and enabling you to paint finer detail. The second of those, the painting finer detail and surface tension thing, really doesn't help you with an airbrush. But the first one, keeping paint from falling out of solution and self-leveling, does help you through an airbrush. So there are like specific flow improvers. If your flow improver helps your paint stay in solution, it will absolutely be a good add when you're airbrushing. But otherwise, not really necessary. Yeah, I learned just enough paint chemistry to make myself like dangerous. Enough paint chemistry so that I could talk to my in-house paint chemist with the company we were working with and actually say things that made sense to him. That was my goal, and I actually confused my sales rep one time. He's like, "You're talking like a paint chemist. You need to talk to the paint chemist." So yeah, it really is. Those are the two things that flow improvers can do. And usually each flow improver is better at one than the other. This is my stream. Welcome to my stream. I talk paint chem and color theory and like materials and like I like to microanalyze and try to break things down for people, Tia, so that's kind of what I do. Like, I don't do it every stream, but there are a lot of streams that we break it down. I like to break it down. I've been painting long enough. All right, so let's see here. Oh, this might work after all. Okay. I need to unload more on my brush. So what we want is kind of a fading in effect. And we want to start our brush stroke out and pull it back toward the line because we want the line to look like it's glowing, like it is getting there. See? Oh, okay. Yeah, sometimes we talk about food talk, right? Oh yeah, lemon yellow is a good color. So I'm going to kind of cross these lines. I want to kind of start with my brush stroke away from the line and pull back to the line to kind of make the line a little fuzzy and make it look like it's glowing. See it? And since your paint is so thin, I'm a 1-to-1 right now. You definitely want very little paint on your brush because if it pools at this level, it's probably going to dry in like weird coffee stain patterns. So like that fuzzy look. Oh, thanks, AKT. Yeah, I need to staple all my sheets together next year. They didn't staple them this year for me. And I was like, losing track. Because you're just trying to get the sheet you're done with, you're trying to get out of the way. But you're also trying to put your sheets somewhere so you can make sure you have them in order. So it backfired on me this year. But we did get through the award ceremony in good time. And my voice held out. That's the important part. I wasn't sure. I abused it so much on Thursday. I was really scared. So see how this looks a little bit? It's fuzzy and it looks like it might be like giving off light now. It's not just a white line. So that's what we're looking at. Yeah, they shouldn't be adding glycerin. Glycerin is as you say, it's a retarder. You don't need it for self-leveling, and you don't need it. In fact, it impairs the paint. Like glycerin, adding glycerin to paint actually impairs adhesion, like how well your paint sticks to the model. If they're using like glycerin in there, I don't even know why. Like I can't think of a reason. Unless it's to like extend drying time so that it will self-level better. But there are other products that do that without glycerin. Cool, Duke. I try. Because it's a long thing, right? I felt bad when when we had to switch to like clapping for everybody for the manufacturer awards. Like, we need those big inflatable boffer sticks so that you can clap with those. Maybe I'll suggest that for Ed. Maybe we need MSP Open branded ones. But you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Like at sports events, they have those big inflatable like breadsticks. They look like big inflatable breadsticks. Nope. The open system is everything. We encourage you to enter anything. The big boomsticks, yeah, because that way everybody can clap and their hands don't hurt. When you've got at this time we had 700 entries. When you're clapping for 350 or 400 awards, your hands hurt. And I think we should get those boffer sticks, those things. I'll figure out what they're called. There we go. So you guys seeing it now? Seeing how that adding the white just a little bit around the edges fuzzes it out. And don't worry if you can see your brush strokes a little bit. It's okay. You can always take your gray and come back at it from the other direction to blend in any little blurfs. But you want that that fuzzed out look that looks like glowing. Yeah, the year after the COVID years, I was expecting it to be actually lower than it was. I should just use breadsticks. Yeah, well, there are a couple of competitions, like Creature Casters, Privateer Press. Those companies all have painting competitions that are private. I believe that Reaper is the only major company doing a competition that makes it open to all manufacturers. All other like I said, Privateer Presses and Creature Casters, and there's a couple other mini companies that do their own competitions at big conventions, and it's all you have to enter their models. Issue everybody a trumpet. Yeah, no, let's not do the vuvuzelas. I still remember how that sounded when we were in the sports bar listening to the World Cup of Soccer, and that noise. My paint's thickening up just a little bit. I can tell because I'm seeing more brush strokes. I can go a little faster if I want, but I'm going to risk leaving brush strokes, like actual brush strokes I can see. But yeah, the system we base this on, the open system, comes from Military Miniature Society of Illinois, a guy called Shepard Payne, who was just really the grandmaster of military modeling while he was in the hobby. And he created the open system so that they could have, because there were a lot of different military and historical model manufacturers, and they wanted to include work from everybody. So that's why the open system was created, to judge that way. And the other things that use that system, other competitions that use that system, are things like the Miniatures World Expo, which also is open to every manufacturer. And the World Expo changes hands it goes every 3 years, and it's a different miniatures club around the world that hosts it every 3 years. And so they, instead of having a company hosting the competition, they have a miniatures organization, a miniatures club hosting the competition. I always kind of wanted Reaper to go for the World Expo. I always wanted us to be, the Master Series Open, to be in the conversation for World Expo. And now we might have enough room that we could actually do it at the hotel. But we'd need even more room. We probably need at least double or triple the room we have this time. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, Bombshell Warlord, Midnight Heroes. Midnight Heroes did the chibis. The chibis, which is why I now have chibis that I must paint. So yeah, now I'm just working on kind of fuzzing. I've got my gray here too, so if I need to kind of, if I can see a watermark line, here, let me show you guys. So you can see now, see the kind of, here it's not bad. Like, especially because remember, I'm going to glaze colors over this. When I do that glaze, it's going to hide this water line right here. But if I really decide I don't like that water line, what I can do is I can thin down some of my dark gray here. And then I can paint that over the edge to get rid of it. And this is also a way that you can, if you try to blend and you get this effect and you don't want it, this is the way to fix it. Just pick up a little bit of your gray and come at it from the other edge. Kind of break up that line that you see. And then you can blend it in essentially a little bit more. You can get rid of the line. Even do like a 50-50 mix of the gray and the white. Try to kind of fudge that line. But the glaze that we do to bring the color into this is going to disguise the line. So we don't want to overthink it or try too hard to get it perfect out the gate, because we know a lot of it's just going to be covered up. So we can work on it and see if we can fuzz that out. Duke, it's rare that I can't remember the last time that entries didn't at least get a certificate. So because, I mean, if you're going to enter the competition, you're not entering something that's like total crap in general. Shep Payne always told me, like, actually directly told me, as he was still alive at that time, that when you give a 0, which is below a certificate, you are essentially telling that hobbyist to stop painting. That is the way that, in judging, you have to see it. So it has to be truly, like, you didn't even paint it. Like, you know, like, it has to be truly abysmal. Like, it needs to not be there at all. Like, because it's a terrible message to send to someone, really. If you bring a model in, you're a new painter, and you try hard, and you paint, then, you know, you should be recognized for that effort. So although it can happen, it is exceedingly rare, because no judge wants to tell somebody just give up on the hobby. You know, go take up knitting. It's about encouragement. It's about fostering the next generation of people who adore this hobby and really love to do it. And so many people who have entered their stuff, started out by entering their stuff just painting and entering in the MSP Open, go on to, you know, to be painters or sculptors and teach, right? They go on to teach new people to paint because they're excited about the hobby. That's what we want. That's what we need in this hobby. Yeah, you tried knitting already. Haha. So that's really the attitude I have, and why I love the open system, is that you really are there to try to encourage people in this hobby, to give them the feedback that will enable them to reach their goals in painting. Whether that's just a super clean, you know, really good, like, silver level gaming paint job or D&D paint job, or if they want to go all the way and start competing in more difficult competitions. Because there are definitely competitions that are more hardcore, where you're going to have to be gold level to even have a chance at an award. And even if you are gold level, you might not win. You know, that's more traditional competitions, which give a first, second, and third and don't do open system. Like Golden Demons or Privateer Press's Grandmaster. So there are definitely tiers of competition, and if you get excited by competition, and if you feel like, you know, this is kind of fun, pushing myself like this, then you can start looking at other competitions. But ReaperCon, I think, is a good, what I'll call an entry-level competition. A way to get your feet wet, competing in a really friendly and supportive environment. Like, I don't think you get more supportive than ReaperCon. Everybody cheers for you. My favorite is still the little kid with the Dark Angels Dreadnought who won Silver Youth Award, who ran down with his arms in the air like Rocky. You know? I love that kid. Like, that kid is going to want to compete. Like, he has had such a good experience. His dad took him around to awesome painters who taught him to do cool techniques, and he listened and applied them. And he ended up with silver. You know, that's a great lesson to give somebody. Listen to feedback, try, execute, and succeed, right? Like, that was a great message to give that kid. Makes my heart happy. Because I taught him how to do freehand. So I had direct experience with that kid. He needed to do the Dark Angel symbol on the Dreadnought shoulder. So I taught him my easy way to do freehand. And he did it. It looked pretty good. Oh, cool. First year. Oh, okay. Where is it, Hyper Bunny? I'm always interested in people who are trying to start up competitions. Like, it would be great to have, like, kind of a big competition cycle. I think we're getting there, because LVO and Nova Open both have competitions. There we go. Look at that. Glowiness. Look at that glowiness, guys. Can you see the difference? It goes from painted on design to glowing circle, right? Oh, Houston, cool. I like this a lot, actually. This is coming around. Like, it's taking a while, because when you're working with such thin paint, you're you're just going over and over. You're building it up. You're trying to make it, you know, look nice. You're bringing in your gray a little bit to blend it in. You're just trying to get that cool effect. And it does take a while, but at the end, I'm, like, super happy. Oh, nice. That's cool. Yeah. Well, that's just a sign, like, all these painting competitions, whether they're a single manufacturer or otherwise, it's still, like, it supports the hobby, right? Especially if it's, like, at a Warhammer tournament type thing. So then there's a motive, and those guys are, you know, having played Warhammer with competitive people, you know, a lot of GW gamers are pretty competitive people, so, you know, if they're given a motive to learn to paint better, then that's cool. That gives them a different doorway into their hobby, right? That they can enjoy. Yeah, Adepticon will have the Golden Demon competition again for the first time in, like, over 10 years. Golden Demon being GW's, like, national level painting competition. Yeah, my paint is, when you start seeing brush strokes, then you know your paint's getting a little bit too thick and you should probably add more water. Yeah, it depends. Like, if it's a real shallow glow like this, Tia, not always, but if it is, because essentially I just want something that's kind of shimmery and magical like that, like the back of her cape. But if it's a strong glow, like if her scabbard here was glowing or something, then yes, you absolutely do need to, like, pay attention to where the shadows will go counter to the light. When I'm doing a flat surface like this, though, and I'm really looking for just kind of a little subtle glow, I might pick up a little bit here, but it's not going to be casting a big shadow necessarily, especially because there's ambient light. Like, you have to also think about ambient light. And in here, we can see the ambient light is pretty strong, right? You can see her colors, although her shadows are pretty dark. But you get the idea that maybe this is evening light, maybe, you know, that kind of thing, and she's not necessarily in direct light. But there is ambient light, and you can see the colors of everything, and you can see the crystal of the staff. So since there's a strong ambient light source, if I make this glow really pick up light and cast shadows, this glow then has to be lighter, brighter than the ambient source. And then I've got to change a lot of this, right? And probably that glow is going to go even closer to the bottom here. Like, so you've got to think about the overall. Like, usually when you do a glow effect on a model, often you're going to be working with ambient light. You're going to paint the model, and you're not going to just leave it black. You know, and so you have some other light, and you have to ask yourself how strong this light is. Or you can just use a glow effect, and that is your entire light source. But then it's going to be very different, right? My, oh, hold on. Got to get Goblin. My boyfriend, David Diamondstone, teaches a class on OSL, object source lighting. And he uses these little goblins. So here, again, you can see that, let me see, do I have that big black base over here somewhere? I had a black backdrop for him that sometimes works better. Hold on. Black base should work. So here you can see the side of the goblin is really dark, right? You've got a suggestion of color on the knee and the foot there and on the red, but in general, this side is all in shadow, especially opposite the light source is very, very dark. And that's a sign that this guy's in darkness. There's a little bit of reflected light that's giving you these hints of color on his dark side. But in general, everything opposite is very dark. See, just very neutral. And you just get little hints of color. But then on his bright side, especially opposite this light, you can see where all the light is falling. So his torch is a little bit like here. So back here, you don't get that light. But here, you can see how the light is falling on the back of the sword here. It's even picking up some of like this edge here a little bit. Stuff like that. So there's David uses these for his OSL class just because they're little and it's perfect. Like the torch is positioned really well to do this kind of effect. So that's the kind of effect you're doing if you want somebody to be in a dark room with that being a really bright light source, right? Whereas this is more, she's out in like moderate daylight, maybe overcast afternoon, and she's sketched a glowing circle of protection on the stone that she's standing on because, she's heard something or something like that. So I don't want this. My goal in the glowing circle is not to make it a real light source. My goal in the glowing circle is to make it look as if it's exuding some magical energy. So I'm not wanting to make it. I may actually, that said, one thing we can do. So if I do want to suggest that it is giving off a fair amount of actual glow energy, then I'm probably going to want to highlight like here, right? I'm going to want to paint over the edges of these little red dress and stuff. I don't mind blocking that in because I can unblock it in pretty quick. But you see, so you have to ask yourself, like, how bright is it? If it's really giving off light, it's going to light all of this stuff. And then I have to repaint it. And maybe that's not what I want, right? That's not the effect I was going for. So mostly I wanted that glow effect, not to actually light anything, but I'm just going to block that in dark. Although one thing I could do... Oh, yeah, back to work. Thanks for coming, Dragoneye. So one thing I could do is I could create a light here at the bottom of the staff, as if she's pulling power from her staff, and have the butt of that staff be glowing, have it light up this area because it's right up against this cloth, and have a thread of white coming out, a thread of power coming out and spreading to the magic circle. That would be pretty cool. And it would show that she's directly spellcasting, right? So that could be fun. And it wouldn't really, I would have to repaint some of this area right around. One of the easiest places to do object source lighting, though, is when it's up against cloth or a backdrop. Because then you can light up this area really easily with white paint and then make it a colored glow. So maybe we'll do that next time. But so you gotta always question what you're trying, the effect you're trying to transmute, you know, like what you're trying to say with your lighting. Are you in the dark, or are you in an environment that's otherwise lit, but you want to create a glowing object to show that it's magic? Or actively emitting magic or heat or whatever, right? So, but you also don't want to disrupt necessarily the work that you've done already if you really like it. And so you have to question, well, is it, for example, how important is it that this is glowing, right? Is the most important part really her whole attitude where she looks like she's seen something coming, you know, or is it that she's casting this spell? And for me, it's her attitude, and like the magic circle is just more of a something is coming, I need to be ready. And so it plays into the story, but it's not the main part of the story, because the brighter and more distracting, freehand's already distracting. So the brighter you make this, the more it becomes the focal point of the scene. And I don't want that. I want her whole expression and attitude and the details up here to be the focal point of the scene. So if that makes sense. Always be cautious where you put glows and freehand and all the rest of it. And if it is not the point of the model, downplay it. Cool. All right, I think we're pretty much at a stopping point. I didn't get as much done as I wanted to, but that's because we're doing happy glowy things. Next time we'll finish the happy glowy things, and we will also, I might do that butt of the spear thing if I feel like it. It actually might be a nice counterpoint to all of this. I think I can do it pretty cool. And then we will do vegetation. And maybe rock highlight, some quick rock highlighting and some vegetation. But she's getting really close, and I did take Vitanis out of his blister last night, so we'll do a tiefling. I'll probably do dark skin on him, kind of like I did on my Patreon example for him, because that's kind of always how I envisioned him rather. We may do some freehand on the cape. We'll see. But yeah, I've wanted to do this guy for a while, and I feel like the Bones Black is the best iteration of him. So we'll be starting him as soon as she is done. We'll stick to our non-human adventurers. He is a warlock, so he just screams for purple. But yeah, and otherwise, yeah, we're I think is today. Today is Thursday. So tomorrow is Mushroom Queen. And we'll probably finally get to the back of her dress, I'm thinking. Because this is coming along. But I want to get more blue. I want to block this in for sure on her dress. And then we can come back and kind of hit a lot of this thing, because the colors down here are going to be kind of the colors up here, with a little bit of green worked in. So yeah. So Reaper, if you're out there, we need a raid. And what we did today was all about lighting. We talked a lot about the Reaper Master Series open painting competition, and we talked a lot about how the judging happens and the feedback, and that if you enter a model in open, you should always have done some sculpting and or serious conversion on the model itself, not just a weapon swap. Head swaps are substantial, so that can work. But yeah, open is all about sculpting. So sculpting and conversion. So, and then we did glowing, we did a freehand design, and we made it glow, and we talked about potential future directions, and we talked about OSL, nighttime OSL versus ambient light OSL. So there we go. So Justin is probably trying to make sure that they don't put down his floors incorrectly, but I will text him for a raid real quick. Let's put her down there. We'll put her down there, and we'll put Goblin next to her. Rawr. Goblin needs to sit up, sadly, for you to really see him. He's hard. And I'm gonna text the Justin. Raid needed. Ha! My phone knows because I started with R, and since it's to Justin, raid was the first word that popped up. Yeah, no problem. I hope you guys had fun. Aw, thanks for the Kiri head, Crowley. Yeah, I really like this orc model. I think she's turning out really, really well. I might keep this one. Ron might not get this one. Oh, guys, and I got, at the con, when I was spending too much money, where did I put it? It's around here somewhere. But I got a half-orc bust that I wanted. A female half-orc bust from Scale 75. They had it. And I'm going to do her skin tone, that kind of olive plus flesh plus the rosy colors. I'm going to do this skin tone big on that bust. So that's what I've been wanting to do that bust for ages to do that. So I finally have a copy and I will be able to do that. Probably will do it on my own stream eventually. Today, I think we're going to work on Noli. I do my own stream this afternoon around 4 p.m. USA Central Time before Reaper Live. And we'll likely be working on Noli. I'm thinking we might do some work on Noli's, all these like fangs and horns. And maybe we'll block in some colors on the cloth. And maybe do a little more work on the hair. Because I want to come in and hit some of these little baubles on her hair as well. And I also want to accentuate, I want to make sure that I end up accentuating the dark and light split here. So we'll figure out how to do that. But yeah, and that'll be twitch.tv/paintingbig. So 4 p.m. USA Central Time. Go and give me a follow. I love it when you guys show up. And yeah, we'll be also doing this via wet palette. So we're going to be working with a wet palette. We're going to be painting fast and probably with a big brush. And going pretty much blocking in this model as fast as I possibly can. So far, this model has 3.5 hours in her. That's it. So my goal is to turn out a really, really good model in record time. And we'll be working on that later today. I also need to think about colors for her beads and stuff, but yeah. So let's see if I have a Justin yet. If I don't have a Justin, I'm going to text a John. Hopefully by next week. Oh, there it is. Never mind. Hold on. Never mind. Texting John, like, is the trigger for Justin to start the raid. Thank you, everybody, and I will hopefully see some of you on my own stream this afternoon, and if not, tomorrow morning, all right? Thanks, everyone, and goodbye.